Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with ShineOn. I'm John, and I am here today, and I am excited to talk to everybody about some cool email flows. So today we're going to talk about email flows that convert. And when I say convert, this comes with, like I said, years and years of A/B testing, things that I've learned, things I'm doing. And I will be talking about things from the point of view of my company, which again is like a golf lifestyle brand. However, this applies to any brand and any brand that you want to create. So even if you're just selling jewelry, this applies to what you're doing. If you are getting into pillows and you're getting into wall art and you're getting into beach towels, right? This all applies still. And for a lot of people that are building, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to get into this here later. I got other things to cover. Brooke is like, John, what are you doing? You're just talking. You're not even getting into your slides. So I'm going to go ahead and get into my slides. All right. Now let's get into Coffee with ShineOn. First up is the Digital Marketers Toast. If you haven't been with us, we like to do the Digital Marketers Toast. So people in the U.S. are generally drinking coffee at this time. That being said, I am not in the U.S. I am in Europe, so I am not drinking coffee. I am drinking some healthy drink. But everybody, you can raise your mug if you're drinking coffee. Raise whatever your drinking vessel is, and we will do our Digital Marketers Toasts. All right. Raise up your glasses, mugs, bottles, or flasks, and join me now for the Digital Marketers Toast. Here's to more conversions, more cash, cheaper CPMs, and lower CACs, to higher CTRs and much higher CVRs, to enabled ad accounts and big bank accounts, to upsells, downsells, and cross-sells, to winning products and repeat sells, to the thing that everybody knows, the riches are in the niches, but also in your email flows. Cheers. Yum, yum, yum. All righty. Now let's get into it. So today I'm going to talk about two automated email flows. And if you don't already have these two automated email flows, you're missing out. These are really simple to set up. This is not difficult. This is a very, I'm going to do a very quick overview of these. If you want more detail, I can share more detail. We can go into it. I'll do a Q&A at the end as well. But the big thing I'm trying to get everybody to understand, right? If you're a jewelry seller, and let's say you sold husband to wife, right, for Christmas, and we've got Mother's Day coming up, the likelihood is that person's probably not going to buy that same piece of jewelry again for Mother's Day, right? And that's a good thing that ShineOn has added all these new products, because you have other products to now sell to them. So we need to figure out how to sell to these other people. And, you can do email campaigns. And I'm getting ahead of myself. The big thing I'm trying to do here is create a new revenue stream for you. You are already paying people to come to your website, and those people are not converting. So you can now convert unconverted customers. You can also convert previously converted customers, right? So people have already bought from you, get them to come back and buy a second time. Today, I'm not going to talk about previously converted customers, right? I'm not going to talk about doing a Mother's Day campaign. We will save that. I will do that. I will talk more on how I would do a Mother's Day campaign. What I'm going to talk to you today is about unconverted customers, because that's your biggest number, right? So if your website has a 5% conversion rate, and that's high, the average e-commerce site is like 3%. That's pretty good. Most people are more towards the 1%. That means 5 out of 100 users are buying, which means you have 95 other people that you paid to come to your website. Now, what if you could convert a couple of them without paying any money, right? So how do you do that? You do it with email flows, right? What do I use? I use Klaviyo first and foremost. Klaviyo is my favorite email software. You can do this with many softwares. I like Klaviyo. It directly ties into Shopify. It's easy to use. You just click a couple buttons. All of your stuff's there. It's simple. It's always worked for me. It's not super expensive. So that's what I recommend. That being said, you can use whatever you want. But what you're going to see here are screenshots from Klaviyo. I can talk about how to use Klaviyo. I can't really talk to the other ones. So we're talking about Klaviyo today. So I feel like I had another slide. Hold on. This is the one I wanted. I just put it in the wrong order. So the first thing, there's two things, right? There's flows and there's campaigns. Today we're talking about flows. Flows are a series of emails that are automatically sent. They're triggered by something that happens, and it sends emails based on a predetermined set of rules that you have created. And then there are campaigns. These are one-off emails that you manually create and send, right? Like we talk about a Mother's Day campaign. That is you creating a email series about Mother's Day that you're going to send out to your email list. What we're talking about today are flows. These are automated things that happen. You set it up and you can forget it. Well, you don't forget it. You run A/B split tests. You try and optimize it, but they just happen, right? We're going to talk about email flows today, not campaigns. So the first flow that we'll talk about is our welcome series flow. And this is, the big thing here with welcome series. You'll hear people argue this point. And to me, I disagree with a lot of them that say a pop-up is a bad idea, right? It distracts people buying on your site. And I say, well, yeah, if you set up your pop-up to show to everybody, which you just don't have to do, right? So you have to set up a pop-up to capture an email without distracting them from converting. So if they're in the process of buying, don't give them a pop-up, let them buy. But if they decide to stop buying and they take another action, show them a pop-up, right? And again, I think my slides are a little out of order, and I'm going to jump around. But there's two places that I collect emails, right? There's a pop-up on the Shopify store, and then there's a checkbox in checkout, right? They opt in to your emails through these two spots, right? And so then let's go ahead and see there we go. I definitely had that out of order. So anyway, let's talk about how we set up a pop-up so it does not distract people that are currently in the process of buying from us. So first of all, this is my pop-up. And what I like to do is I say, very simple, like here's a gift, right? Our gift to you. And I say, here's 10% off your first order. Are you ready to rock the best styles on and off the course? Really simple. Enter your email here and send my discount. I like to use the side image, show them a product. This is one of my best-selling products, so I put it here on the side. But I like to use the emoji too of the hand pointing down. They know they need to take action, drop their email in so they can get their discount code. Now what happens when they fill this out and they click send my discount, then you get another pop-up that I forget what they call it in Klaviyo, but it's basically like the response. And it's very similar, and it just shows them their discount code, which is you can make them so that they're dynamic per person. I think mine's like welcome 10 or something like that. You'll see it here in a minute when I show you the emails. But a really simple and clean pop-up. I don't put a ton of information, but the big thing I try and put here, you have to understand this is getting shown to people that are no longer in the buying process. So when you run an ad, you run an ad to a product. They come, they land on your product. And I'll show you this. As soon as they decide to stop looking at that product and to go somewhere else on my website, I will now show them a pop-up because they have left the buying process. And this is a recovery tool. I can give them a 10% discount and then get them to buy, well, that's a great, I just saved that conversion. Did it cost me 10% of the sale? Sure. But if they left and they didn't buy anything, that's 0%, right? So I'm still getting 90% more than I would have gotten if I hadn't offered them a sale. But like I said, this pop-up, it's all about the timing of the offer. It's all about how you set this up. This basic welcome series type of email and this pop-up, it's all about knowing how you set this up to make sure it's going to work and it's going to not lower conversions on your site, but it's actually going to raise conversions, right? So there's 3 things in Klaviyo that I set up. So the first thing is, and you'll see this inside of Klaviyo when you're actually setting it up, right? You go when you're setting up your pop-up or what they call an email sign-up form. You set up, select when it should be displayed, and I say based on rules, right? You can have it to be immediately, only on a custom trigger, but I'm going to say based on rules. And my rules is after a time delay of 40 seconds, right? That's not the only rule that I am going to use. The first thing is I don't want to hit them right away. I want to give them time to come to my website, and I want to give them time to look at what they're looking at before I just throw something in their face, right? So I say 40 seconds. So they land, and they have 40 seconds to show it. The other thing I say is after a visitor closes this form, they don't see it again for 5 days, right? If they do submit it, obviously they don't get shown it ever again. But I give if they decide I don't want it, I don't, every time they open a new page, show it to them again. If they come back 2 hours later, I don't show it to them again. I really try and make this if you come back in a week, you'll see this pop up again. Again, it's another way to just make sure you're converting people. Question here from Mark, is Klaviyo smart enough to stop pestering visitors once they've signed up? Yes. And this is another thing. You say don't show this form again. Oops. Don't show this form again if it was submitted or the button was clicked, right? So you can very much, if they have gone through the process of entering their email here, it won't show it to them. Now, if someone is on your email list already and they come to your website, I don't know that Klaviyo can tie their IP address to say, hey, that's the same person necessarily. So they might get shown it if they're already on your email list. But again, if you can get someone that's on your email list to buy again and you're giving them like 10%, it's not the end of the world. You're getting more purchases. So I would say it's not a big enough reason to not show it, if that makes sense. And then my last thing I do is I don't show it on certain URLs. And the certain URLs that I don't show it on are my ones that are /products. If you are looking at a product, I don't show it to you, which means if you come from one of my ads and you land on one of my products, you will not see my URL. If you are browsing on there and you decide to go to the home page, you will then get my pop-up. If you decide to go and click on t-shirts rather than polos, right? Like we don't, you then get the pop-up, right? But if you are on that product page, I am not going to show you this pop-up because when you're on that product page, there's one goal, and that one goal is for you to hit add to cart. So I do not show this. If they are looking at a product, like I said, it's 40 seconds. So if they land on my homepage and then they click to a product, I don't then show it to them because once they get to that page, I do not show them the pop-up. If they are on that page, no pop-up because the only goal when you're on a product page is to add to cart. But those 3 rules is a very simple way of setting up a pop-up to work on your store and to collect emails and give them a discount. Now, when you give me your email, I then put you in a welcome series email flow. And that welcome series email flow, you get removed from it as soon as you make a purchase, right? So if you give me that email and you get your code and 10 minutes later you buy something, you never go through my welcome series. right? There's a completely separate post-purchase series, which I can go over in another thing. But the only time you're going to go through the entire welcome series is if you have not made a purchase. Because the point of the welcome series is to get you to use that 10% coupon to come and make a purchase so I can turn you into a conversion, right? So let's look at the first email. And these are, you set up triggers in Klaviyo. And again, we can go more into detail in this. But in the email, it says when they submit it via form, they enter the welcome series. And then before I send the first email, there's a check. Has this person purchased, done a Shopify purchase in the last 3 days? I think is what I have it set up to, right? There's a delay too, right? I think there's a 20-minute delay on the first email. Have they made a purchase? Don't send the first email, right? Or remove them from the flow is basically what I do. And if they haven't made a purchase, then I send that first email. And that first email looks like this. It's very simple. I've got a nice little big logo at the top so they know who I am. I've got a nice little image, very big letters. Here's your 10% discount. Your code is welcome10, and I then add in a scarcity, right? If this is valid for 3 days only, right? This isn't valid forever. Is it valid forever? Technically, mine, yes, it's valid forever. You can use it anytime. Technically, my welcome series lasts 7 days. And in that last email, you'll see I say, don't forget your code's almost expired, right? This is all about driving scarcity. If I can get someone to read this and go, oh, it's only good for the next 3 days, well, I'm going to go ahead and make that purchase now. I've gotten that conversion, right? I then do some fun stuff. Welcome to the country club. I use some basic information. If I have their name, I say, here's your first name or your title. If I don't have any of that, it defaults to hey there, right? We're glad you're here. What can you expect, right? So what to expect? What are you going to get from this? I say, we're going to give you exciting product announcements and exclusive deals and promotions. This is all to keep them from unsubscribing from our email list. They joined our email list. We want to keep them in the email list. Why do you want to be in the email list? Because we're going to give you stuff. Cool. So they're going to stick around. And then I give them the discount code again. And then I send them to the main shopping area of where I run ads to, which is our performance polos. Very simple email, right? Nothing crazy here. But I highly recommend using the scarcity. Make sure the discount code is easy to find. And then the buttons both link to they don't go to my homepage. They go to my top selling products because I want to reduce the amount of clicks. And if they decide to go shop, I want to take them straight into shopping. I don't want to take them to browsing. Okay, so that's our first email. And the way this looks, right? Someone's added to newsletter. Newsletter is what I call my welcome series email list. They get email number 1. Now this is the last couple days, right? I've got a 68% open rate on this. I've got a 5% click rate, and I've got a 15% placed orders. Now, a lot of people place orders without opening the email. They get the discount code. It's in the subject line. So this converts really well. This is bringing in, a couple orders a day, basically, for me. So if I'm generating, $200 to $300 a day from this single email that happens from getting their email, great. Because if I can get them to buy once, I can get them to buy twice, buy 3 times, right? So that's our first email. It works really well. Now, I'll say as you get further down the welcome series, it tends to not perform as well until you get to the end. So the next thing is I then put in a time frame, right? I say wait 1 day, and then I do a test. I go, has the person placed an order in the last couple days? If yes, remove them. If no, send the next email, right? You're going to do that conditional split every time you send an email in this series, because once they've purchased, you no longer need to send these emails. You have once they've placed an order, they're put into a post-purchase. I also set up flows that once someone's put in post-purchase, they're removed from the welcome series. But it's always good to just double check. And like, to me, it's all just about making sure these issues don't happen. But Klaviyo has a lot of good things that you can set up, like if in post-purchase, remove from welcome series, if in post-purchase, remove from abandoned cart, right? Like you can set all those rules up. Second email, this is where I start getting into customer first. And it's less about here's your discount code. And it's more about who are we as a brand, right? And this is where we're talking about brand building. This is really where it starts to take place in this welcome series. And here you're really getting into the people that are very unlikely to purchase from you. If they didn't make a purchase when they first showed up and they didn't make a purchase when they asked for that 10% discount, well, the likelihood that they're going to convert is pretty small. And you can see this one in the last couple of days hasn't converted very well. But it's also, it's only gone out to 18 people, right? So it's not huge numbers. But I do get a lot of conversions over here, right? So that's definitely pulling a lot of people out. That second email, right? This is a longer email. And this is, again, where I talk about brand building comes in. You can see here, at no point am I giving them their discount code. I don't need to give them their discount code. They already got the discount code. Here I'm trying to explain to them who we are. I am really appealing to them to connect with them as a customer and build a brand loyalty with them. So I tell a story. How did it all start? Why did I start making polos? Well, I didn't see what I liked in the market, so I decided to do it on my own. And this is what we have, and blah, 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 right? Write out something to make people connect with your brand and say, yeah, I didn't like what I saw, and I like your stuff. I'm going to support you. We're a small business. We're all that stuff. And then I call out some benefits from our product. Now, if you're selling jewelry, maybe not this, but you have out anti-tarnish, high quality, blah, blah, blah. You can do a lot of that. If you're selling the blankets or the pillows, there's a lot that you can do here to call out some of your benefits. And then it's just a link to go and continue doing some shopping. And the hope is, you know what? I really do like this brand. I wasn't sure if I was going to buy, but this story is just so good. I'm going to go make a purchase, right? Again, no discount code in here. Don't need to give them a discount code right now. This is all about connecting with them. I'm creating brand loyalty, which is something a lot of people don't spend the time to do. Right. And then we get into email series number 3 and number 4 of my emails. There's like a 3-day delay between email 3. Again, you see a pretty good open rate, and we've got some conversions here on this. And then we wait 4 days, we send out email 4. And we've got a good open rate. We haven't gotten any conversions on that. I think this was like the last 7 days or the last 2 days, something like that. And I covered up some of my data because I try not to share too much about what we're doing. But I really wanted to give you an idea that these do convert from this. You can see we've got 5% here. We had 16% in that first email. It's a good amount of conversions coming out of these emails. So what does email 3 and 4 look like? Email 3, I go a completely different direction than I've gone before. I try and keep it very, very simple. I strip out all the logo. I strip out all the images. I strip out all the fancy text, and I go very, very clean. And I just go, hey, don't take our word for it. Here's some customer reviews. Customers. Very, very simple, plain text, right? It looks like it's an email directly from me. It's not a highly produced email. It's going in a very different direction. I'll be honest, this is something I'm testing, actually moving a lot of my emails to, is stripping out all of the stuff and making it just plain text. Because people are so used to getting these giant image emails, and they're not used to getting plain text. And I'm seeing these convert pretty well. And you can see here, right? Like this one, even though it's email 3, email 2 didn't get any conversions, but email 4 didn't get, but this one is getting conversions. So plain text, right? It's very, very simple. Shop now. That's it, right? I could almost get rid of it as a button and just make it a hyperlink, and even try and make it even more clean and simple. I could even sign it, right, and make it look like it's coming directly as me. And yes, you can use my email as a template. Please, this is what they're here for. I'm not afraid of you guys stealing my business or anything like that. But then let's get into email 4, right? This is where I try and pull out the final stop, which is really laying into the scarcity of trying to get this person to come convert, because they haven't gone through all of this stuff. There's not a Google Doc. I will work on a Google Doc for you. I got some more emails that I want to share with you guys and some future stuff. But like, so in this last email, I drive scarcity home. I go, hey, your discount is expiring tonight. You need to use it now, right? I try and make it very clear. This last email, it's all about scarcity, because if they don't buy here, I've lost them. I will send some campaigns around holidays and stuff, but the likelihood of converting them drops really, really low here. And then I'm relying on, hopefully they follow me on Instagram or on Facebook or on TikTok, right? And hopefully they're engaging with my content. But there's very little I can do if I can't convert them here. So I drive home this. And I say, hey, just a reminder, your discount expires at midnight. You should go use it right now. Here's your discount. Go shop. Go. Right? I do a very quick, here's some reasons you're going to love our stuff. I then, the email number 2, remember this was big and long. I just condensed it down and made it really small. Just some basic symbols. Now that might not work for you guys, but you can figure out how to like condense it down. So really simple email. Go shop now. Your discount is expiring. This generally converts pretty well. Again, I'm going to continue testing some of this plain text email and see if this plain text email converts in all of these other emails, because it is working currently in email 3. So we'll see if it works in email 4. And we might even see if it works in email 1 and 2. Email 2 is difficult. But again, so this is how I set up my welcome series. It's relatively, it's not a lot. There's not a lot to it. But it works, right? I'm converting, of the emails I'm sending, I'm converting maybe around 10% of people that enter my welcome series are converting into sales. Well, if you think, I think I break down the math, but about 30% of, let's say those 100 people, right? 5% converted, 30% or 30 of those 100 enter my welcome series, and I'm converting 10%. So I've now added another 3%. So I went from 5% to now I'm at 8% conversion, right? That's pretty, if you get an extra 3% conversion rate on your store, that'd be pretty cool, right? So now let's jump over and let's talk about an abandoned cart flow. Now, an abandoned cart flow is very important. If you don't have this set up, I'm sorry. You have been missing out greatly. If you do have this set up, that's great. Let's make sure it's actually doing what it's intended to do. Okay, my abandoned cart flow, it's triggered when someone starts checkout. Now, I make this a very simple 2-email series. A lot of people will 3, 5, they'll pester the heck out of people to come and buy. Thing here for me is I've got them in my email flows, and I've got other email flows that I'll convert them on. So this for me is basically a 1-day abandoned cart. I try not to go crazy. And like I said, a lot of people do 3, 4, 5 days, like email like crazy. You can do that, but I find that gets them to unsubscribe, and I really don't want people to be unsubscribing. I really want people to stay in my email series. So I try and make this relatively simple. So here you can see I'm not really good at wiping everything out. So the first one, I wait 2 hours, right? And if they've abandoned their cart, I say you left something behind. I'm getting a pretty good open rate, and I get a decent placed order rate. I'm getting, this is like a day. If I'm getting, an extra $300 to $500 a day from abandoned cart, that's pretty good. My second email, I then wait 20 hours and send them another email. I'm not giving them any discount codes. I don't think I'm giving them a discount code in any of these. Good open rate, good, decent click-through rate. And again, I'm converting, here I've, yesterday I converted $376. So that's 4 or 5 people that I've converted into spending a decent amount of money, right? So let's look at these emails and see what they look like. I do give a discount. I've been doing a lot of testing, so I can't remember off the top of my head whether or not I give discounts on everything. So my first email, get 15% off. You can see there's no crazy imagery here. There's a logo at the top. Get 15% off if you go finish your order, right? I give them the code Lucky15. And then I say, but hurry, your code expires in 4 hours. I try and drive some scarcity there. I then do a very simple, here's an image of your product. Here's your product title. Here's how much you're buying. This is basically what's in your cart, right? Whatever's in your cart is going to show up here. I then tell them, don't forget to head to our support if you have questions. And then I link, I keep clicking on stuff. This is a Klaviyo thing. I link straight to their cart. I don't link to the website. I don't link to a product. They click that button, it goes straight to their cart and they can begin checkout, right? I'm trying to drive them straight into checkout. I'm not trying to get them back to do more shopping. I literally just want them to go enter their credit card information and buy something. Very simple. If I give them 15% off, that's great. If I can convert a couple sales, 15% off. The way I run my ads, you have to remember, you consider these lost sales. If I'm converting them even at 15% off, that is money that I wouldn't have previously had. That allows me to run ads at break even or better and still make money. Email 2, I add an image in here. It's very simple. Here's your logo. Last chance to take 15% off your, I don't know why that says brand there. This might be a test email that's not up yet. Normally it would say Country Club Dropouts, code 15, and simply click the button to complete your purchase. Again, go talk to our support team, and I link straight to the cart. And again, if they have 4 products in their cart, all 4 of them would show up. It's a very simple Klaviyo setting to put in there. It's easy, right? We're really not going crazy here. These are simple emails, but they do convert. Like I said, if I'm bringing in $300 to $500 a day in abandoned carts, that's $300 to $500 that I would otherwise not have. And that $300 to $500, if you break it down into profit margins, is probably an extra $100 of profit a day that can allow me to fund my ads and make my ads drive more and more people into my funnel. Because I've got a funnel that's converting people in other places than just buy or die, right? So how does this affect my overall revenue when we look at my store? And again, these are just two of my many flows that I have, but I think these are 2 of the most important flows that you can have set up. If you don't, you need to. So you have potential customers, right? We have 100 potential customers, and we said 5 of them are going to go and buy. And then of the other remaining 95, 30 of them, let's say, actually enter their email and go through my welcome series, right? And of those 30, I convert 3 or 10%, right, of those. So I've gone from 5 buyers to 8 buyers, and then I've got an abandoned cart flow. And let's say my abandoned cart, about 10%, 10 of those people actually go into the checkout and abandon checkout of those 100. Of those, I convert 1 of every 10. Right? I add another buyer. I just went from 5 buyers to 9 buyers. Right? I almost doubled the amount of people buying on my site. And yes, those other 4 are buying with discounts, but that is revenue you previously wouldn't have. So while my profit margins drop, I've already paid to acquire them. So now I've added in an extra, let's say, $10 to $15 of profit for each one. Well, that allows me to fund running my ads. It allows me to reduce where my break even is and make sure I can spend the money to optimize my ads. And now when you think about, you're probably sending way more than 100 people to your site every day, right? So if I have 5 buyers and then I turned it into 9 buyers. And let's say rather than 100 people, I drove 1,000 people a day. Well, I just went from 50 buyers to 90 buyers, right? Oh, that's a lot more sales. But you can go from 50 to 90 sales, right? These can really help to drive. Like I said, I'd say my email generates 30% of my revenue on my store. Now, a lot of that's dependent. Sometimes I get a lot more people in my, when they're buying through my ads. I'm able to do upsells. I'm also getting a lot of people coming and making larger bulk orders and things like that. Whereas my emails tend to convert on like single product sales a little bit more. So the revenue tends to be higher in my buy or die people, and the revenue is lower in my post purchase or my welcome series and abandoned cart flows. They tend to be your single unit buyers. So it all depends, right? But you can see very clearly how having these set up and playing with this, that's what's going to help to convert. And it's about the emails, and it's about connecting with your customers. It's about playing with the text that you use. Like at all times, I have an A/B test running on almost every single email in every one of my email flows, right? Because why wouldn't you, right? I'm always testing, and I normally test for 2 weeks. I look at the data, whatever wins, I move forward with, and then I run a different test, right? And I try and be strategic. I start with the the subject line, and then I move to the subheader subject line, and then I move into the content of the email, and then I play with like the CTAs, and I do all of that. And I don't do complete opposites. I test one thing at a time. Because if I continue to do that on a 2-week basis, testing every one of my emails, and they each get 1% better every 2 weeks, in the course of a year, they're getting like 25% better. Well, if I'm converting 25% more people to my email every year, that works, right? It all adds up. All right, everybody, enjoy your day. Thank you so much for joining Coffee with ShineOn. You will see, I'm not sure, but somebody next week. And I will talk to you all again soon. Thank you.